All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It is Monday, March 13th, 2023. It's the MMAOB Daily Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin, joined by my co-host, Mr. Big Marcel. Apologies, guys. A few minute late start here. We had some, call them technical difficulties. Marcel, call it technical difficulties. Yes, the time changed today. But someone in the chat talking about that. We got a couple guys in the chat, though. We got our boy Glenn. We got Joe. We got JPH. Marcel, forget the time. It wasn't Marcel. Something else happened. But the thing is, like the clocks on your phone change automatically, but not the one in your car. That's all I'm going to say about this. So, but we're here now, Marcel. We're here and we're ready to go, ready to rock and roll. We're going to recap UFC Las Vegas. We'll recap Bellator as well, Marcel. And I know you can't wait to do this, Marcel. We're going to be recapping Power Slap 1. No, I'm just kidding, guys. We're not. We're not going to. By the way, you saw the tweets were fake, right? You see that?
It's just stupid, man.
I know you don't even want to talk about this shit. Like, you don't even want to give it the time of day.
I also see some, listen, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but also some MMA reporters tweeting about it or posting about it. Got to do what you do yourself, but you kind of normalize it when you tweet about it or you're giving it any much attention. So I just chose to not give any much attention. You know what I mean?
I didn't get a chance to watch the card, but I saw the highlights on like the Twitter because I mean, how could you miss it, right? Like tweeting the UFC main account tweets about it.
I mean, how horrible is it when Dana is likely already out of the building when Yan against Dvalishvili was busy because he had to attend Power Slap.
I don't even know how did our boy Alex even get there in time? Like he must have ran.
Here.
We got some more comments. We got our boy Patrick in here. What's going on, man? We're doing good. Antoine's here. My favorite thing on Monday. See, that's why we do it, Antoine, because we love those comments. Power Slap Marcel will quit the podcast. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're gonna do. Oh, man, I can't wait for 286 breakdown. That's next. But let's start with UFC Las Vegas, Marcel. Yeah. That's what happened on Saturday. So, you know what, man? I kind of had a feeling, Marcel, throughout the week. I'm like, you know what? Like, there's been so many favorites winning that we might have a card where there's like multiple upsets, and this was the card. There was a lot of upsets on this card. I think we maybe called like one or two of them, but like there was a few I didn't see coming, to be honest with you. And start the main event, Marcel. Listen, like I thought the fight could be competitive, but I never expected Merab would win 50-45 and shut out Petr Yan and make it look like easy. Like Marcel, 49 takedown attempts. That's the UFC record. That's insane. 49 takedown attempts, landed 11, landed 147 significant strikes compared to the 75 for Yan, who looked terrible in this fight. Now he's coming out saying he was injured or something. I mean, even if he was healthy, I don't even know if he would have won this fight. Like, obviously, we picked Yan. It wasn't the best pick. Clearly. You got completely washed, man. This fight was complete domination for 25 minutes. Give me your thoughts, man, because, like, I'm not surprised Merab won, but, like, just the fact it wasn't even competitive kind of surprises me. You?
Yeah, I think it could have gone both ways, man. I'm just kidding. No, it was very for one-sided. Yeah, I feel like Merab was just quicker, you know. And the thing was, at the beginning, Yan could stop the takedowns pretty easy, you know, or he was just quick. He was just quick out of it. At a certain moment, you saw Yan kind of like, yeah, I'm not going to win this fight, you know. I'm just not going to win this fight. He knew it. And it was just like, also Merab started to hit him. He had like a big, almost his eye was almost closed, you know. And yeah, I think Merab looked really good, man. I think, I don't know if I don't think I tweeted it, but I wanted to tweet it. The biggest winner in this fight is probably Aljamain Sterling. I mean, Yan will not be anywhere close to a title shot in the upcoming one and a half year probably. You know, he needs a few wins under his belt. And for Merab, listen, man, I want to see Merab fight for a title. That's what I want to see. I think he deserves it, you know, but Aljo is there against Cejudo. We'll see what happens there. No idea. But I think Merab deserves it, you know. This is the third legitimate loss on Petr Yan's record, in my opinion, whereas no asterisk behind it. You know what I mean? He lost to Magomedov in ACB because of a late point deduction. He lost to Aljo by DQ. He had that close fight with Aljo, the second one, which I scored a draw, but it went. That would still be Aljo be a champion. And the Sean O'Malley fight, I think Yan won that fight. You know, so this is the first fight he completely got pretty much dominated and lost. You know, so very big feather in Merab's cap, in my opinion, dude.
I mean, it's a huge win for him, man. Like, it's 9 straight wins. Dana White, well, I don't know if you saw, but he did talk at the Power Slap press conference. He didn't talk at the UFC press conference, but talked about Merab and Aljo. And he basically thinks it's a mistake if he doesn't fight Aljo. You know, Marcel, like, sorry?
I think it's a mistake. Dana's still the UFC president. But yeah, go ahead.
I think he's got kind of a point, though, man. I mean,
I don't agree.
Bro, like, you only have one career. Like, and these careers don't last long. Like, the guy, you could get injured, your career could be over. Like, anything could happen, really. Like, listen, at the end of the day, we have to wait till, what is it, May? That's when the Cejudo and Sterling fight. Because just say Cejudo wins, it kind of makes it the point irrelevant because then, you know, it kind of puts Merab in a spot where he could fight for the belt. Obviously, Sean O'Malley's right there, too. I don't know, man. I mean, like, I think this is, at the end of the day, like, yeah, there's a team aspect to the sport. It's also an individual sport, though. Kind of got to worry about yourself. Rob needs to worry about himself a little bit. I get it. It's his friend. He doesn't want to fight him, but, you know, Marcel, this happens sometimes. Like, we saw, it's not, like, the best example, but last week, the two guys from Killcliff FC have fought each other and put on a great fight. You know, now they're probably training each other again. I understand that it's, like, not, you know, the same extent to, like, maybe, like, remember, like, back in the day when, like, Rory McDonald and GSP, they were rumored to fight, or, like, Josh Koscheck and John Fitch. They never ended up fighting, right? So I get it. Like, you don't really see, like, long-term teammates fight each other that, like the elite level. But again, it's you only get one chance in the sport, and Rob could be, like, Dana White said he's making a mistake. I almost feel like Marcel, they're going to punish him if he doesn't take the fight. They're going to give him, like, the hardest possible fights now. I don't know, man.
I'm going to tell you who they're going to give him if he doesn't want to fight Aljo.
The winner, Sterling or Sandhagen and Barra.
They're going to give him Umar Nurmagomedov.
They might, and that's a hard fight, you know. Like, he probably does win the fight because he's great, but it's not an easy fight. You
know what it is, Adam, man? We are more from Western country, you know. We are more like we're different kind of that. I think where Merab comes from, brotherhood is very important. You know what I mean? And for us as well, but we're looking at it more different. I think, you know. And he is really like, he's my brother. It's so much. I've been with my career there. They built my career there, and I don't want to fight. I think, for example, and nothing better to Aljo, but if Merab was a champion and Aljo was in the bantamweight division at the place where Merab is now, I think Aljo wanted to fight for a title. You know what I mean? I think it's completely different. You know what I mean? Because now it's for Aljo, it's convenient to say, like, yeah, I don't want to fight my brother, you know, because he's the champion. I think if it was the other way around, it would be much tougher, you know, because Aljo is also more like someone like us, I would say, you know, with that kind of mindset, you know. But for Merab, these kind of guys are really like, if you have their friendship, you're really the brother to them. You know what I mean? So they would absolutely don't want to fight each other. So that's what I think it is, you know, and I got to respect it. The thing is, I hope Aljo keeps his word, what he said, and goes to 145 at a certain moment and gives Merab the chance to fight for the 135 belt, because I think he deserves it, you know. And the longer he waits, you know, there will be one fight he will fail. You know, there will definitely there will be one fight he maybe will fail, you know, and that would suck if he needs to fight 2 or 3 times more before he fights for a title because his friend and teammate is a champion. So yeah, we'll see what happens. You know, to be really honest, I still feel like Merab is undefeated in the UFC. You know how I think about that. So yeah, it is what it is.
I mean, yeah, I kind of agree with that too. I mean, he should be Frankie Sains, and then the other fight with
Ricky Simone.
Like, I mean, that was just weird. Mm-hmm. He did get choked out, but it was after the bell. Like, it was just a weird finish. Anyways, the guy's great. Let's get some comments here. We have okay, well, this is a good question from Antoine. Who'd they give Peter getting back in winner's circle?
Cody Garbrandt.
Oh, I mean, he smokes Cody, right? 2 former champs. It kind of makes sense. Who was the other guy that called it Cody? It was
Martinez?
Jonathan Martinez. Was it Jonathan Martinez? Was that
I think so.
Or was it?
Or was it Batista? I think it was
Mario Batista.
Yeah, I think it was Martinez, but I can be wrong.
It was Mario Batista. He called him out. So yeah, I mean, if you look at it, like, yeah, Yan makes more sense. Even though I don't think Cody's even ranked anymore, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
Looking at the rankings, I mean, he could fight the if Vera loses to Sandhagen, you could fight him
again. He has a 12th Vera. I mean, I sent it.
Yeah, Dominic Cruz. Could that be the fight?
or the loser from or winner of Font against Yanez, you know.
Is it how many fights does he have left in his contract? Do you know?
I have no idea, man.
Is it possible he could leave the UFC? Is that possible?
It would be crazy to me, you know. If the UFC lets him go, they are stupid for real. You know,
he's lost 3 straight fights, man. He's lost 4
Yeah.
of his last 5. 2 elite guys though. He lost to the number 1, 2, and 3 guy, right?
But we have seen those fights, Adam, and we all know that the 2 Aljo fights are controversial.
Yep.
The O'Malley fight is controversial.
Yep.
Only the Merab fight is decisive. You know what I mean? So he could be 4-1 in his last 5.
Yep.
You know. But he
he's
is
not.
1 of 4.
He's
I know,
4.
but I mean, everything has a story. You know, it's not like clear cut. He completely got washed in those fights.
Wasn't he? I mean? But after the last fight, he was pissed at the judges. He was like, "I don't want to fight for these judges. I don't want to." Remember he was saying that? Like, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, you're right. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to cut him or anything, but like, if there was like a mutual party in ways, it wouldn't completely shock me, Marcel. It wouldn't.
Neither me, but I mean, if he, for example, he would go to Bellator, and would be another. Bellator is also a crazy bantamweight division, you know, so would be great as well. But I hope they keep him in the UFC, man. I think it would be really stupid because besides, listen, man, he is also a popular guy. You know, he's also not loved by some fans, but he's a popular guy at the same time.
Yeah,
you know, and I mean, all the crap that happened during fight week, you know, between Yan and Merab with the Russia versus Georgia thing. You know, I'm not Georgian, I'm not Russian, but man, I mean, it got a little bit too far for me, man, for a fight. You know, I mean, Merab was like acting like he was fighting Vladimir Putin's son. You know, I mean, it's a little bit too much to me, but I understand I probably don't understand how Merab feels as a Georgian, you know, so maybe I shouldn't say it, but I mean, for me, it's like I watch a fight and I want to see 2 of the best fighters, and the political kind of stuff all the time. I mean, I understand it's part of it, you know, but it shouldn't be like the head thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Anyways, there's a lot of options for him. A couple other comments here, guys. Imagine how Merab will be when he learns what to do after getting a takedown. Yeah, I mean, he's like, I still don't know like how marketable he is, man. Like, he's got a great record and everything, but like his style's not the most exciting. Like, I don't mind watching it because I'm a fan of MMA, but like if you watch the casual fan watches this, they're probably calling him boring, man. Let's be honest, you know.
Yeah, a lot of people do. I think
even people that are hardcore fans. Crazy pace Merab. Yeah, it's crazy. Marcus says Merab machine, most underdog confident bets. Yeah, I saw you, Marcus. Good job. You got him at plus 220. Holy crap, that's a good odd. Those are good odds.
Definitely.
Very good odds. Who would you like if Aljamain and Merab fought? I don't know. I mean, that's a really tough one because they're training partners. They know everything about each other. It's a hard question to answer, man. I mean, Aljo's a champ, though, you know, so I guess I'd have to go with him. I see both sides of the argument. Understand wanting to give your friendship irreversible brain damage, but risk the friendship. But you guys are also fighters. See, exactly. That's their job, right? It's tough. Thank you guys for not being sensitive bitches who block people like MMA fortune teller. Oh, we're not trying to block anyone here, man. I don't think we need to. I mean,
as long as
we have, but it's like pretty rare. Like, I mean, whatever. I don't see Aljamain Sterling vacating the bantamweight belt unless his first fight is at 145 for the belt. Too much money. Sterling would be leaving the table. I agree with that too, Marcus. I agree.
By the way,
something about the fortune teller guy. I don't know. Yes, he blocks people. I don't know. I haven't listened to his show. What are you gonna say?
Yeah. By the way, we have another situation back in a year ago with Vicente Luque and Gilbert Burns. You know.
Yeah.
They're also best friends, and they also. I was like, I think I asked Burns. I was like, would you fight Vicente Luque? And he's like, no. I was like, for a belt? No, never. Okay, then I think I asked Vicente as well on camera actually, and he's like, yeah, I would never fight him. Also, he's like, we are best friends, and even our wives go along with each other. He's like, it's just not good, you know. If he comes to Brazil, he lives with me. If I come to the US, I live with him. So it's like,
I know it is a similar situation, but one's not the champ, you know. So there was other options.
I know,
there's a champ, right? Anyways, Yan versus winner of Fonda Yanez. That would be good too. What's up, Gorilla? Thanks again for the artwork, man. Peter Yan can still whoop ass. The problem is his wrestling is zero. It's weird because like in the first Aljo fight, he took him down a bunch of times, and then all of a sudden his wrestling sucks since then. And I understand like takedown defense versus offense is different, but like he had 7 takedowns against Aljo in the first fight, Marcel, and since then, you know, actually even at 6 against Sean O'Malley, but he keeps getting taken down himself now, like in the second Sterling fight, and then obviously against Merab. Yeah.
Imagine we were fighting in the flyweight division. I say obviously with flyweight division, and I was the champ, number one, and you were. I was the champ, and you was the number one contender. So
Yeah.
would you allow me to give you an ass whooping?
Marcel, like it's tough, but at the end of the day, like you got to feed your family too, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So it's a tough thing. Anyways, the only other thing I was going to say was Petr Yan. Just getting quickly back to him before we move on. Imagine how much different his life goes if he doesn't land that illegal knee against.
Crazy, right? Yeah,
it was almost 2 years ago to this day. By the way, it was like 2 years and a few days now. That changed his whole career, right? It changed his entire career, and he's never been the same since then. Krylov Rakic. Ooh, that's a good question. We'll talk about Krylov in a second. But yeah, I mean, I have to go with Rakic, though, I think. Well, this guy says, what's up, bipolar? I think you had a different name, right? Sweet Science or something? Afternoon, guys. Thanks for the Volkov pick. Krylov, Volkov, Merab, Parlay. Nice job. Yeah, we'll talk about Volkov now. We both picked him, right? I think we both did. I mean, I thought that Romanov would have some success in the first round with the wrestling, Marcel, but he showed up like a – I mean, I'm not one to talk, but he showed up like a fat blob, Marcel, on the scale. Like, how did he gain 25 pounds from his last fight? Like, where he looked in good shape last year. Remember when he fought Tibur and then it was a Chase Sherman? He looked in good shape, and you're like, okay, this guy's making some progress and losing some fat and getting more serious about it. And then I guess apparently he lost his training camp. He trains with some guys that apparently suck at MMA and suck at their conditioning because, bro, he gassed out in like 30 seconds. Like this was an embarrassing performance by Romanov. And I'm not trying to shit in the guy too much, but here's the thing, Marcel. There was a lot of people talking about him as a future champ, and I'm sorry, but this guy is not at all. And he never will be. I say that right now. I understand it's heavyweight. There's guys that lost fights and gone on to have big careers, but this dude just has no cardio, and I don't see it getting better. Really, even against Tibur when he was in shape. And I know that was an elevation. We talked about that, but even that fight, he was exhausted. In this fight, Marcel, 30 seconds was gassed out, and Volkov just put it to him. I mean, listen, I picked Volkov because I think he's the better fighter. I think way more experience. That's why I picked him. But I didn't think it would happen in like 2 minutes. I thought it would be. First round would be tough, and then second, third round, he'd barely pull away. 2 minutes and 16 seconds was all it needed. Romanov landed 0 significant strikes in the fight and didn't. He attempted 5 takedowns and landed 0 and gassed out. Marcel, what the hell happened to this guy, man?
So I actually talked to Thiago, his manager. I was asking after the weigh, and I was like, why did he got much bigger again? He's like, yeah, the last fight he felt kind of weak, when he was on diet, and he wanted to have his power back, so he got bigger. So yeah, that was what he did. And the thing is, I got to give this to him. He had almost a takedown, but Volkov grabbed the fence, and he kept up. I think I don't know who the ref was, but he was like, don't grab the fence.
Mark Smith. Mark Smith never takes points for fence grabs. Watching his fights. There was other fights in this card too, I think, where he was like, I can't remember what other fight it was. There was another one. He was like, don't grab the fence. Was it the Turkali fight, maybe?
Yeah, it was that one.
Was it? It was Mark Smith in that fight. He's like, don't grab the fence, and then didn't take a point.
I'm just calling him Mark shit from now on. So yeah,
should focus on power slap, be a power slap ref instead.
Yeah, and be a competitor as well there. But by the way, power slap, I think it sucks, man. They have to use steel bats, I think, much better. But to go back to the fight, yeah, that's what kept Volkov on his feet, honestly, But after that, man, Romanov was completely gassed, and Volkov could do whatever he wanted. I expected a decision win for Volkov, but he got it done in the first round. Good for him. Yeah. And as nasty as it sounds, he's really kind of the gatekeeper to the top 5, man. Mm-hmm. He really is, and he wins against everybody under him, and he loses to everybody above him. So, yeah, we'll see what's next for him. I think there are some possible fights against Sergey Spivak, against Tai Tuivasa is a possibility. And maybe if the UFC wants to get Cyril Gane back on track, they can do the rematch, which I don't really need to see. But
I don't want to see that fight again.
No, me neither. But hey, you got to do something. But not enough to do. For Romanov, yeah, I mean, I think Romanov will stay around the top 15. I think he beats almost everybody under the top 15, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
Volkov 10-4 on the UFC with 6 knockout wins. I mean, the guy's had a good career,
For sure.
And the Derek Lewis fight, he was 10 seconds away from winning that fight too. So he's had a good career, guys. Like he's a good fighter. I mean, I remember watching him Bellator years ago, right? Like he was the champ there. He was good, and he's really improved, I think, over the years. And he's the same age as me, actually, Marcel. He's 34, so he's and I think they said he went to the California and stayed there to train his wrestling. Like you saw some improvement there, but you're right. There was a fence grab. It has to be noted. But still, 0-5 in takedowns. It wasn't just that one takedown. There's 4 other ones he missed too.
But I agree with the Wu guy here that says it was pretty major.
Let me get some comments here. This guy says Romanov looked off. He did. He says he was potentially injured. Did you hear anything about an injury or no?
No, I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know, man. His conditioning just looked bad. Volkov's fence grab, stop, takedown, should have been punished. They got to take a point for that, or just give the guy the position. Like, be like, all right, you grab the fence. He was going to go down, go in the ground now. Right? Like, you can't just be like, don't grab the fence. Like, you can't keep saying this. It's not right. Like, no, seriously. Like, we know the rules. It's 2023. We've had these rules the unified rules have been in place for like over 20 years now. Like, I don't understand really anymore. Like, not just that, Marcel. There's a lot of stuff in fights where like guys don't get punished for, like eye pokes. They're like where they have their fingers out like this, and the refs like close your hand, they poke them, and he's like, okay, it's just your first warning. Like, you're warned in the back. You already know the rules, so I don't know. Anyways,
Adam, we're talking about Mark Smith. Bite mark. I see bite mark.
I know you
that's the guy.
That one. Yeah. All right, let's go to the next fight here. Krylov defeats Spann by submission. I picked him by submission. This was one of my better picks on the card. I really liked this matchup for Krylov. I just thought he was the better grappler at the end of the day, right? Yeah. And he proved to be. I'm still not sold on Ryan Spann. Like, I'm really not, Marcel. And the whole thing about him not training and stuff, I felt like that was bullshit. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's going to bounce back because this was a quick fight. But I'm still not sold on him because if you look at his resume, guys, like he has no top 15 wins except for Reyes, who, let's be honest, is like washed up at this point. Like, he's got 4 straight losses by the last 3 by knockout. So that win didn't sell me on him completely. It was a good win. Don't get me wrong. But you kind of saw him go back down to earth a little bit here. I think he's kind of like a gatekeeper too to me, Marcel, at light heavyweight. He's like the gatekeeper to the top 10, maybe. Like, I'm not saying he's bad. He's obviously a good fighter, but I think Krylov, though, he could break in the top 5. I actually think so. I understand he's got some losses that probably wants back, like that Paul Craig fight, Paul Craig, right? But he was doing well in that fight and fucked up, right? Like, why was he playing in his guard? He shouldn't have did that. That was a mistake. But since then, 3 straight wins. He's looked good too, and he's beaten some good guys. So I don't know, man. I think that Krylov's pretty solid. Any thoughts?
Yeah, now you're mentioning Paul Craig. Why is he fighting next week? But I think Krylov. I think it was like they both were close. I mean, Spann didn't look bad at all, but at a certain moment he just fell in the triangle, and Krylov made him tap. I mean, good win for Krylov, man. I think happy for him after 2 weeks when he fell. How do you say that? When he had to pull out with illness. I think he said that he ate rotten eggs or something. So he didn't have a refrigerator or something in his room, he said, and he ate the eggs, and the eggs weren't good or whatever. I don't know exactly, but good for him, man. I mean, this is 3rd win in a row after his loss to Paul Craig. 3 finishes or not? No, 2 finishes, 1 decision against Özdemir. Yeah, good for him, man. I mean, he's always been a guy that is like sometimes hit and sometimes miss, but he's really decent. You know what I mean? So he probably gets a guy in somewhere in the top 5 now, man, with 3 wins back to back. So looking forward to it.
Yep, I agree. Craig and Spann, that makes sense. I like that fight, actually. And Krylov, who do you think you should fight next?
I actually like the Blachowicz rematch. What he asked for. Although Blachowicz recently fought for a title, you can maybe do the Rakic one. What this guy said in the chat. That's good to me as well. And maybe even the winner of Anthony Smith, Johnny Walker. But
that's what I was thinking too.
But I don't know if I want to see Johnny Walker and Nikita Krylov set too after the first
one. After he's wrestled and made it, I was surprised by what happened in that fight. But I guess Rakic, if he comes back, it makes sense. I don't think they fought, right? That would be a good fight.
Yeah.
I don't know where I know Rakic was injured. Let's go to the next fight here. Jonathan Martinez with the upset over Said Nurmagomedov. Close fight. I don't know. How'd you score this one?
I think a clear first round for Said Nurmagomedov. Even could consider 10-8, but that would be 10-9 would be good for me. I would go 10-9.
Yeah.
Second round, I think Martinez close 10-9. Third round for me was Said, man, but
Yeah.
Probably the judges got swayed in the last 30 seconds, I feel.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, I think Said won the fight, but yeah, it is what it is.
I actually had the same scorecard as you. So, like, I thought the third round was super close. I slightly lean Said, but I don't think it's a problem with Martinez winning it all. I mean, it was such a close fight. And obviously, like, if you look at it from a value perspective, he was a big underdog, and there was good value on him, obviously. I'm looking at MMA decisions right now. I haven't taken a look. Looks like most media had it for Said. Most fans had it for Said as well. I just the first time I'm seeing this, actually. So, yeah, the third round came down to that, Marcel. And I think the last minute of the fight, he was pushing against the fence and the judge swayed the judges, right?
Yeah, but weren't you surprised that I understand the difference between split and unanimous, but weren't you surprised that all three judges agreed on the fight?
I kind of was, because there was another fight in the card, Henry and Gravely, where the scorecards were all over the place. I thought it would be like that a little bit, but anyways, I want
to ask you, what was actually your fight of the night pick in this card? I want to know.
My fight of the night pick?
Yeah, let's see if we have the same one.
I didn't have one. I had
if you have to choose
4 bonuses instead. Oh, okay.
Me
if
too.
I had to, if I had to,
I would go Henry against Gravely.
Yeah, I would have went with that too. I was just thinking like maybe the Grant and Sunset fight, because I thought it was a really good fight and the finish was crazy, but more of a finish bonus.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I would have given up 4 bonuses. Like I just feel like it's kind of unfair. Like last week, Dana White was at the card, so they gave out, or was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
There was, I think, the pay-per-view where it was only at the main card and
not. But there was a card last week where he gave out 6 bonuses, right? Or was it 2 weeks ago? Remember?
I think it's 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Sorry, 2 weeks ago. Let me check. It was the Muniz and Allen card. He was at that card. And he gave out 6 bonuses every finish. But then 2 weeks later, not everyone gets a finish bonus. Just make it universal. You get a finish, you get $50K. They can afford it, man. And you're going to put on better fights. Guys are going to be going for that finish a little bit harder. You know, especially in that third round, digging deep, going for that finish. In my opinion, because I think like a guy like Fram could have got a bonus. I think. Batista, he had an easy fight, but he could have got a bonus. Krylov could have got a bonus. I don't know. Let's talk about the next fight quickly. Batista and Kennedy. I mean, there's not much to say, Marcel. This fight was a mismatch, and even what's his name? Batista was like surprised by the matchup. This didn't go any differently than we thought. I thought I picked Batista by submission. What'd you think? Anything surprise you in this one?
No, man, of course not. I mean, we both picked Batista, and I think almost everybody did. Like I said last time, man, on the podcast, I mean, everything you make as a matchmaker, which be like a minus 500 favorite over it, and which is not a title fight, is stupid, I think Batista was a minus 1,000 favorite or something, and that makes sense. I understand Kennedy won his last fights against Moutinho and against Costa and got finishes. But you got to look, man. I mean, Batista is a guy who can go into the top 15. You know what I mean? He's that good there. And it's bantamweight, So even guys outside the top 15 are guys who would be in the top 15 in other divisions. You know what I mean? Bantamweight is stacked. So, yeah. I mean, very good win by Batista. I hear many people say that he should be ranked. I don't think you should get ranked off a Kennedy fight, but still, he deserves to get it.
I mean, he lost to Trevin Jones too, and everyone forgets about that.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, you can have a bad day at the office, and I think he proves himself after that.
But Marcel, has he beaten anyone ranked since then?
No. But that's why I want to see him now against somebody close to the rankings.
Yeah, I like the guy. Don't get me wrong; he's a good fighter. I'm just saying, like he beat Jay Perrin. Jay Perrin's not in the UFC anymore. Brian Keller's not ranked. Benito Lopez, I think he's not in the UFC anymore.
Bro, give him Garbrandt. Give him Garbrandt.
He asked for it. I think it's a good fight. Yeah. Honestly, I think it is a good fight. So, I also like that Petr Yan and Garbrandt fight you mentioned earlier. I actually do think that's a good fight too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if he wants to get Garbrandt and the UFC likes it, then do that fight. All right, a couple other comments here, guys. Happy I bet on Merab by decision. Yeah, the odds were crazy at the end of the day. They really went up during the week. Although I did pick Yan, so it's not like I got it right. Third round toss up for Said and Martinez. Yeah, his cardio didn't look great. All right. He gave all the finishes 50 Gs. Not on this card, Joe.
No,
should have though.
He meant to Alan Muniz.
Yeah, he did on that card. But he should have on this one. Dana White, no fair and no hair. Expect too much comments next round. Batista first round sub was a lock. I mean, him just by sub was a lock, and you're right in the first round. Guido Canetti's. How many times has he been subbed in the first round? This is the second time he's been subbed in the first round. 4 times he's been subbed in the UFC, twice in the second round. Yeah, I mean, this fight was a wash. All right, here was the fight of the night. Vitor Petrino against Anton. They changed his name. They used to call him Turkai, now it's Turkali, right? They changed his name. Like, John Anik says it differently than Brendan Fitzgerald. I don't know what's the right way to say it.
You know what's annoying? How they are pronounced Bresky. It's
Bresky?
like
Why is there a D sound? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a B sound. I don't know why there's a D sound.
Well, you would know more because you live pretty close to Poland. Like, is that right?
No,
with a D?
it's a B sound. Doesn't make sense.
I was really confused. I was surprised. I was like, Dresky, okay.
Yeah. Like
Anyways,
Manov.
Is it Turkali or Turkai? Like, because they called them both.
I have
like,
no idea. It's probably Turkali. I think it's Turkali, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. Anyways, the pleasure, man.
Yeah.
Fight of the night, apparently.
The gigolo.
Yeah. I mean, it was a pretty good fight. I don't know, man. Like, I'm not trying to hate these guys for getting a bonus, but like, I don't know how they got a bonus. Like, I look at a fight like last week with those two guys, Ribovitz and Radzhabov. That fight was a fucking war.
Yeah.
They don't even get a mention for Dana White because he didn't bother to watch the prelims, and that's clearly fight of the night. And then I guess Sean Shelby loved this fight and gave it fight of the night. That's what I'm guessing. He's probably not him and Mick Maynard. I'm guessing. I don't even know if Mick was there, but I know Sean Shelby was there. I mean, I'm not trying to shit these guys. Like, they got a bonus, good for them. But Marcel, I don't know. Was it an okay fight? Did you think it was a great fight? I don't know. Did you?
I have to blow my nose, so keep talking.
Okay, no problem. Like, I thought it was a decent fight, guys. Like, I'm not saying it was a bad fight, but to me, it's like if you're winning a bonus, like it's got to be something special. I didn't really see that in this fight. Good for Petrino. He got the job done as an underdog in his debut. Any thoughts, Marcel?
Yeah, I blow my nose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Turkal deserves a bonus for grabbing the fence. No, I mean, I think it was an entertaining fight. Don't get me wrong, but it seems like pretty low level how it looked, And it was like, how many times Turkal had a moment to get his back and didn't take it for some reason, really weird. And Petrino, yeah, I think Petrino looked better than Turkal, but. Yeah, I mean, when I was watching, it was an entertaining fight, but I never thought it would be the fight of the night. You know what I mean?
Same here. Yeah, that's how I feel.
Pretty much that. And I think Petrino clearly won, by the way.
Petrino, yeah, I thought he won too. I mean, yeah.
I picked Turkal, but I think Petrino won.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Going to the prelims, your boy Dresky. Now, Carl Williams, though, you know what, Marcel? I like what he's doing.
I switched my pick, dude.
From who? You picked
from Bresky to Williams.
Well, I'm glad you listened to me on this one. Listen, like this guy, you know what, guys? He's only been in MMA for like 3 years, 2 years. He's already got 9 fights. He's 8-1. He's 33 years old, so he's a bit of a late bloomer, but like he's got good wrestling. His gas tank held up in this fight. I don't know. At one point they were like saying he's tired, and then he was actually asked about that, and he said he was just taking a break because his opponent was so far away from him. He's just like, I could take a breath at that point. I thought he looked pretty good. I mean, he got a knockdown. He got 8 takedowns. He had over 10 minutes. You know what's crazy? If someone asked you who had the most control time on this card, you'd obviously go with Merab, right? You're like, okay, obviously Merab. No, it was Carl Williams. He had more control time than anyone on this card. So, yeah, he didn't get a finish, and his opponent, gassed out horribly, and is probably not UFC caliber. But, Marcel, I think there's potential with this guy. I really do. He's, again, green in MMA, guys, and he's in his 30s, but there's some potential here, man. His wrestling and his athleticism, I think he'll win some fights, And by the way, I heard his interview, and they asked him, are you going to go back to 205? He said no. He's like, basically, he went to the PI, and they did some tests. They said, we could get you to 205, but you're going to have to, lose a lot of muscle. And he decided instead he's going to bulk up and stay at heavyweight. So I think that's interesting. He's a smaller heavyweight, obviously, and that's going to hurt him, I think, as he goes up the ranks. But I think he beats a lot of the unranked guys. I think if he beats that Budai guy who Bresky just fought, I think he could beat him, for instance. So, I don't know. I think there's guys he could beat in the UFC right now. Any thoughts on this guy?
For example, I think Brzezinski actually won against Budai. But
that's what I'm saying. That's why I mentioned him. Yeah. Same here.
Yeah, he looked good, He didn't finish the fight, which was possible, but he looked good. He pretty much controlled the dude. Good wrestling, some fun suplexes. I saw. Yeah, good win for him, And I had to a little bit more had more of a process during the week by picking him. You already was on him. And last Monday, I picked Brzezinski first, but I was like, after watching some more, I was like, nah, man, Williams gonna win this fight, So I'm glad I switched. Yeah, good win for him. What else can we say? First fight in the UFC, and he already surprised many people against Jimmy Lawson, right, in the Contender Series. So yeah, good for him.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. All right. Next fight here. Oh, I mean, if this isn't submission of the year right now, I mean, we're going to be in store for some good subs because to me, Davey Grant's inverted triangle on Rafael Sunsao, That's amazing because he was losing the fight and the scorecards he was down. I was like watching the fight. I'm like, man, Sunsao looks pretty good again. Like obviously he beat Victor Henry the last fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
He won the first 2 rounds in my opinion. One of the judges gave Davey Grant round 1, which I don't understand personally, but the second round I thought was a little closer than anything. But anyways, Sunsao was winning the fight. And he was 17 seconds away from winning a decision here. And Davey Grant locks up an inverted triangle and puts him to sleep. And Keith Peterson, I think, was the ref in this one. Yeah. He was a little slow, obviously, because he fell asleep. It's a tough spot, though, obviously. But, yeah, I mean, watching it, I'm like, damn, that guy's out. And he was out. I love inverted triangles. Always brings me back to when Masvidal fought Toby Amada and Bellator Marcel. It was a little different. He was standing.
Crazy one.
Yeah, that crazy one. But this was crazy, too. And Davey Grant, once again, gets another bonus. Let me talk about Davey Grant for a second, okay? So I remember from Ultimate Fighter 10 years ago, he was on Ultimate Fighter, Marcel, and didn't think he was anything special. So 2013, he had that fight with Holdsworth, lost, right?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't fight for 3 years, came back. He had that fight with Marlon Vera, beat him. Had a couple losses to like Damian Stasiak and Manny Bermudez, and I'm thinking this guy is not good at all. Let's be honest, right? Comes back, beats Popov, and since then, Marcel has been a machine. Knocks out Martin Day, bonus. Knocks out Jonathan Martinez, bonus. Fight of the night with Marlon Vera. Fight of the night with Adrian Yanez, and a really close split decision. Knocks out Louis Smolka. Should have got a bonus for that too. And then submits Rafael Sunsao. And he keeps fighting on these like small cards for the most part. Mostly these fight night cards. They got to get him on a pay-per-view card, man. They have to. I think he's one of the most exciting fighters in the sport right now, guys. I really do. He's 37, but it seems like he's almost hitting his prime as a fighter, which is kind of crazy because he's been an older fighter. I'm not saying he's a top 15 guy because he's not. He's fought guys like Yanez and Vera, right, recently and lost. But he's a guy that's a gatekeeper of the top 15. And remember, everyone's talking about Jonathan Martinez now. He knocked Jonathan Martinez out 2 years ago. So it's actually exactly 2 years ago today, which is crazy. The guy is really fucking good. He's really good, and I'm excited to see what's next for him, Marcel. I love watching the guy fight. Not only that, again, I watched a lot of the interviews. This guy's he's such a nice guy. He was so nice in the media. He's so polite. He goes like, "Can I get a drink of water? I'm thirsty." Like he asked the media. Remember, it's so funny. But he's so awesome. He's a good dude, man. And I love watching him fight, Marcel. He's so fucking violent. He's just awesome, man. His last 6 fights, guys, are fucking phenomenal to watch. So I don't know, Marcel. I'm in love with this dude right now, man. What do you think?
Is there a difference between inverted and reverse triangle, by the way?
What do you think it was?
And I had it inverted, but there were people who calling it reverse, and I think it was inverted. But
I thought I was going to write inverted reverse on Twitter, and then I saw people calling it reverse. I'm like, okay, I guess it's reverse. But I also thought it was inverted. So
I mean, I think Grant is a guy who can even can make it competitive with these right guys. We saw it with Yanez and with Vera. Yeah, but here I gotta say something about Keith Peterson, man. I mean, people were actually praising him for taking a point, but he shouldn't have taken away the position, because he's like, Grant was on top. Yeah, obviously, because he held the cage. He wouldn't have been there. And that kind of changed the fight, And I think Eric Nixick was in Sunsau's corner. He was furious, and he had all right to be, in my opinion, because there was Sunsau's last fight, his final fight of his career. And he was up 2 rounds with a point deduction in the third. So he would have won the fight if this doesn't if he doesn't get submitted. So I understand the frustration there. And I think Peterson didn't do the right job there. But overall, I mean, good win for Grant. Great comeback, solid submission. And he's a good dude, like you said, man. I'm happy for him. But there was some kind of a bad taste in my mouth for Sunsao there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. The next fight, I guess. There's a couple left. Josh Friend beats Cedric Dumas. Guillotine choke, second round. Good for Friend. He was a big underdog. He's like plus 180 or something. Good for him. Didn't necessarily see this one coming, because I hadn't been too impressed by Friend. But looking back at it, he's got way more experience. So I guess no surprise. A couple of comments here. He grants a bonus machine, and he should have had a bonus for being Smolka too. I'm not really sure why he didn't in that fight. Like that finish was so nasty. Rafael wouldn't be great if there was no fence crowd. Rafael's takedown defense lazy at the end. Ref screw Rafael. That's what Marcus thinks. I mean, I don't think you're wrong, but you got to give the guy credit. Like, he got point taken, he took his lump, and then he submitted him. So, good for him. But yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that it changed the fight again. Next fight here, Marcel. You're right. I mean, this would have been my fight of the night too if I had to pick one. Victor Henry defeats Tony Gravely, split decision. All three judges had different scorecards. I had it Gravely 29-28. How'd you have it?
I had difficulties with scoring that one because I missed 3 minutes of the third round. So
I mean, you can't score it then because the third round was what it came down to.
Yeah, so I think it was 1-1 going into the third round.
Was,
so I cannot really tell you.
Although one judge had it somehow 30-27. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I know the rounds were close, but I don't know. I still don't agree with it. But yeah, it was a good fight, right? Like it was fun.
Yeah, definitely. It was back and forth pretty much, and I think Henry finally looked better than he did against Assunção. He looked really bad in that fight.
Yeah.
And Gravely makes it actually competitive with almost everybody he's fighting, you know, so it's always fun to watch. And he was on the bad side of the scorecard this time, so yeah. But he'll be back, I'm sure.
He's 4-4 down the UFC. I think he'll get another fight, though. I think he's
a good
fighter. Yeah. Victor Henry 2-1 in the UFC. He's 8-35. He's turning 36 this year. He's a bit of a late bloomer, too. You know?
La Mangosta was.
Yeah, I think it's the Mongoose, right? If I'm not mistaken. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, they're both older guys. What do you think about Davey Grant and Victor Henry? Would you like that fight?
Yeah, but I think that's like, why would you go from Assunção to Grant?
You're right. I mean, I got they're both unranked though, and didn't. Oh yeah, Victor beat. Sorry, he lost this one. So yeah, he beat Barcelos. Oh, Barcelos would be fun for those guys.
Yeah, too. I like that one actually. Yeah,
Barcelos against Grant. Is that the fight? Like, yeah,
that's a good fight.
He's coming off a knockout to Umar, but I think he's still good. You know.
Yeah.
Lipsky surprised the fuck out of me, Marcel, being John Hendrick. I didn't expect it.
Me too. Biggest upset in my opinion.
For me too as well. And not only that, worst read of my for me on the card. Like I can accept Yan losing to Merab because like I knew Merab had a chance. I really didn't think Lipsky had much of a chance in this fight. You know, like clearly underrated her. I mean, I knew she was a good striker, but she hasn't looked good at all in the UFC. Like there was really no reason to pick her other than the odds were really good. Aldrich just looked good. It just shows you like every fight's different, right? Because Aldrich, is beating Blanchfield until getting caught in the choke, and then all of a sudden gets smoked by Lipsky. It's just really, really weird. Go ahead.
That's my most convinced pick of the card.
Bro, you know what I mean? It really was. Like I'm like, oh, like if you had to like look at the card, besides Batista, obviously.
Yeah.
If you look at this card, like I would have been like, oh yeah, Aldrich will win a decision easily. Like,
yeah.
And we were completely wrong. She lost every round, bro.
Great takedown defense, great striking, and looked better than ever, and I'm happy to see finally
she looked better than ever. I mean, we always liked her, right? Like she was one of our favorites for a long time. Mm-hmm. And then, just disappointed in the UFC. I mean, her record's still 4-5. It's still under 500.
Mm-hmm.
But look good in this fight. There's no doubt about it. And again, big upset, plus 300 underdog, plus 340 underdog. Dumas looked a lot smaller in front of the weigh-ins. When I saw there, I thought there might be value in front. Yeah, I mean, he took it on short notice, so I wasn't too sure, but the experience and the ground game obviously played into his victory. A couple other fights here, Marcel. Tyson Nam gets knocked out by Bruno Silva, gets front kicked and then choked out. Glad he got a bonus, well-deserved. I really like Bruno Silva. 3 straight wins, 3 bonuses in a row, too, for him. He's going to be ranked now. Who do you give him? Because obviously he's going to fight a ranked opponent next, I'm guessing. I think Nam was ranked. Nam was ranked 15. Okay, so Sumadarji, would that make sense? Would that be a good fight? Number 13, 2 strikers. Would that be a good fight?
Why not?
Yeah. David Dvorak was number.
It's also possible. Yeah.
Any of those guys, he looked good. And then finally, we had Carlson Harris beat Jared Gooden by decision on short notice. We didn't talk about this fight because it was booked after we did the podcast. Carlson looked good in this fight. His ground game looked great. Jared Gooden, got really tired. Took the super short notice. We'll talk about this. There's 2 guys that missed weight. We'll talk about the other guy in a sec. So Gooden missed weight by 6 pounds. Again, I just think it's just not good for the UFC and also his management to accept the fight at welterweight on 3 days' notice. Like, he's been fighting at middleweight, guys. Remember I was talking about in Discord? I'm like, guys, he's going to miss weight. I knew that 3 days before. I was like, there's no way he's making this weight. I was really surprised when they didn't make it 175, 180. What are you going to say?
I mean, Dan Levy is pretty good with Jared Gooden, I think, and he also said it like a day before. Don't get upset if he misses weight. So
I'm not upset because for me it's like such short notice. I hope he gets another fight though. I really do because
that's the thing.
They could cut him. They could cut him.
Josh Weems, who fought, did he fight on short notice again? Was that?
Let me double check. Christian Rodriguez, I think.
Yeah. He got cut,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, after one fight, right? Short notice, right? And then he missed weight.
Yeah.
He's fighting Brandon Davis now on the regional scene next month. Yeah, man. I mean, listen, like I hope he gets another fight because I think he deserves it. I actually think Jared Gooden. I think he beat some guys in the UFC. I'll say that. Not a lot of guys, but I think he beat some guys.
Yeah.
But he's 1-4 now. Marcel, he also missed weight. Didn't he miss weight against Randy Brown too? I think.
I have no idea.
I think he did. Let me check. I think he missed weight in that fight too. Let me double check. I don't want to say anything wrong here. I don't like being wrong. Duran Rodriguez win. Yes, he came 174 for that fight. So he's missed weight 2 fights in a row. Again, short notice for this one. I'm just saying, like, I don't know.
UFC can be a bitch, dude.
Yeah, man. Remember even our boy James Lynch, he interviewed Said Yokub Kakramanov.
Yeah.
Kakramanov, excuse me. And he told him that, like, they were pissed he would miss weight against Trevin Jones. Remember that fight? He took it on, like, what is it, like 72 hours notice, and he flew across the world basically to fight him. They held a grudge against him for that, Marcel. They're like, why did you tell us you could make weight if you couldn't make the weight, right? So they hate when guys miss weight. You know that. You know it's a fact. They hate it. There's nothing worse than when they miss weight. A couple of comments. We're going to talk about Ramos in a second. The venue for Yan Merab was a lot better. Apex. Watching TV, decent crowd, atmosphere. Yeah, it was good. I hope they do another event at the Virgin. All right, so Abubakar, I'm not sure. Do you know why? Did we ever get a reason?
Abubakar had, how do you say that, sinusitis or what it's
okay.
Sinusitis? I don't know how to say that in English, guys.
Okay. Sinuses?
Yeah, sinuses, that was it.
So he had a cold or something?
Yeah, but he had it for 3 weeks already.
Oh, so. I see. He was really sick. Okay.
Yeah.
Ramos, I keep calling him Ramos. It's Ricardo Ramos, really.
Ramos,
that's the right way to say it. Bro, what the fuck? Like, honestly, 154, like, he didn't even try. He came out later and said that he'd been sick or something in camp and had some injuries, I think, and you couldn't make the weight. But, like, you fucked over your opponent. Like, and not only that, they gave him an easy fight. He was supposed to destroy Austin Lingo. Did you report the new Austin Lingo fight? Did you report it? Okay, so he's fighting Nate Landwehr next 2 weeks from now?
Next week, yeah.
Next week. So, yeah. Yeah, man, I don't know what to say. I mean, the guy fucked up. He used to fight at 135, and now he can't make 145. This is like, but I'll say this: Charles Oliveira did the same thing when he fought Ricardo Lamas. He came in Mexico City. You remember that? He came in at 154, and they let him fight.
Zubaira.
Right? Yeah. Or was it Zubaira? I thought it was when he fought.
No, it's Zubaira recently when he fought.
Yeah. What did he come in at?
157, I think. Or
did they let him fight?
Yeah, because it was at 155, but
right.
But he was 145 before.
There was a fight where Lamas fought Oliveira at 145, and Oliveira came in at 154.
Yeah,
which is technically under the limit because I think that's the highest weight you can do. I think for that division, but yeah, it's not good. I mean, they canceled the fight. I think it's fine they canceled it. Anyways, anything else you want to say about this card, or are we good? Close the chapter.
No, I think we're good, dude.
All right, cool. So let's just quickly go to Bellator. Marcel, did you get a chance to watch Bellator?
I only saw the main event.
Okay, so I watched the
MVP.
Yeah, I watched the main card. I didn't watch the prelims. I'll tell you that. Let me pull up the card. All right, so Usman. I mean, the fight was a joke. Like looking back at it, minus 2,000 was not even high enough. Marcel, like Benson retires after the fight. I mean, it was just nasty. The question mark kick and then the choke. I mean, Usman he's one of the best lightweights in the world. He really is. But I also feel like all these Bellator fanboys that are like, oh, these guys could beat the UFC champions. Like, I just think going from like Benson Henderson and Patricky Pitbull and Chris Gonzalez to like Islam Makhachev and like Rafael Fiziev and like these other studs, like even Charles Oliveira, Marcel, I think that's a bit of a step up. You know what I mean? Like,
it definitely is.
He's good. Don't get me wrong. He's really fucking good. And he's obviously got a good team, but I don't know. I'm not completely sold on him being the best lightweight in the world. He's good though. The Alexandr Sadley guy, you picked him, Marcel. You were confident in him gets the body kick win. Weird fucking finish. Let's talk about this for a second. So the guy gets.
I saw that well as well, by the way. Yeah.
So Sadley he kicks Musayev in the stomach, and it was a legal kick. When then on the way down, he hits him with his like heel on his cup.
Yeah. And
Jason Herzog's like, okay, timeout, right? Like he got hit low, and they're yelling at him saying, "Hey, you got hit in the stomach." He's like, "I know, but you also got hit low." So I was like watching it. I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird. Like, does he get 5 minutes or like what's going on here? So I checked and I pulled a stopwatch out of my phone. It was 1 minute and 50 seconds between the time he called time and then ending the fight. So somehow he gets a partial timeout, but he loses by TKO. This doesn't make fucking sense at all.
It's very weird.
Bro, how does this make sense? It's either he gets 5 minutes and it was a low blow, or the fight's immediately stopped for a legal kick. I don't understand how it's in between. I really don't get it. I almost feel like Jason, he's one of the best wrestlers in the game, by the way. Jason Herzog. I almost feel like he knew he screwed up because he knew it was a legal blow as soon as he heard from the quarters and maybe saw the replay in the arena. I think they could see the replay. He probably knew right away. He's like, oh shit, like this is the legal kick. I have to stop the fight. because it doesn't make sense. You would get a timeout for 2 minutes. When do we get partial timeouts in MMA? This doesn't make sense.
I think you're actually saying exactly how it is, man. He thought it was an illegal kick, so he wanted to give him time. But after when he saw it wasn't an illegal kick, he knew he couldn't give him 5 minutes. So he was like, hey, you can no, okay, fight is over.
But just because of the interpreter and the translators taking so long to talk to him, and they were taking his sweet ass time too, Marcel. Like,
dude, it was like, come here, and then he interpreted for him, and then he goes back and he's finally sitting again. Come back.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it was weird. It was a weird situation. I just don't feel like the proper protocol was followed. I mean, I don't know. Like, even John McCarthy's been reffing sport for years, and I know we talked about it, but even he was a little confused about what was happening. Listen, the thing is, they're never, especially John, like he's a ref too. He's never going to go and criticize a guy like Jason Herzog, who's so well respected. No one's going to, right? But I really like Jason Herzog, by the way. He's such a good ref. Like, to me, one of the best refs. I kind of feel like he screwed up here, Marcel, a little bit. I think the fight should have been called immediately, because I just don't like. Yeah, he did graze the cup on the way down, but the blow was legal, and that's the blow ended the fight. So the fight should have been stopped immediately, or you give him 5 minutes to recover from the low blow. It can't be in between. That's my opinion. Linton Vassell, Marcel gets the knockout in the rematch over Valentin Moldavsky. Looked great, and then Michael Page leg kick TK over Goiti Yamauchi in the first round. Man, that was nasty. So any quick thoughts on those other fights?
No, man, I haven't seen too. But that MVP one was crazy. You saw that act on his knee the moment he kicked him, man. Nasty, super nasty. But yeah.
No, he looked good, man. I mean, listen, I'm not an MVP fan, as you guys know. Like, I think he's overrated, but he looked good in this fight for the 26 seconds that lasted. His kicks were fucking nasty. I think Goiti's a good fighter. Like, I don't think this is like a freak injury thing. I think the kicks were landing. Like, it was a good knockout. Prelims, Barzola wins. Marcel, Josh Hill, Canadian wins. His opponent missed weight by a lot, I think.
Casbell,
he missed weight pretty bad, right? If I'm not mistaken. Khalid Merab, he wins. He's good. I'm not sure why the UFC ever cut that guy. He's really good. Yaji Magurov, he wins. He was an upset win. Laird Anderson wins, and then Theo Haig is a guy I think is a good prospect. He won. So that's what happened. Let me get a couple other comments, guys. We'll finish it up here. Who stock dropped the most from UFC and Bellator? UFC, good question. I think Petr Yan. I mean, it has to be, right? You think so?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. First real legitimate loss, in my opinion, and the way how. Yeah, for sure.
And Ryan Spann, too, and Romanov. I think all three of those guys, their stocks really dropped.
Romanov as well, yeah.
The Romanovs. I think Spann, too, Marcel. I really do, because he's talking such a big game that he gets tapped out in 3 minutes. Yeah. Bellator, well, I mean, Benson's retired. He's not. I'm going to admit him. Valentin Moldavsky, Marcel, because he was a champion at one point.
Goiti as well.
Yeah. I mean, it was a legit win, but just saying the fight never played out. I don't know.
I mean, he got finished within 30 seconds, pretty much.
You're right. No, you're not wrong. He did. So, anyways, I think that's it. Oh, yeah, Romanov. We talked about him in the beginning. He looked bad. By the way, Glenn thinks he should have got the 5 minutes for the kick. I kind of agree with Glenn. Power Slap's been banned from TBS. Okay, that came out. That news came out. I know
don't make me happy, please. Don't make me happy.
I know that they put it on Rumble, so people are like, "What's Rumble?" The fucked up thing is, it's a Canadian company that's based in Toronto, and I have a friend that actually works for Rumble. Funny enough, and we're not like close friends anymore. We went to school together. He reached out to me What's funny? He reached out to me last year, Marcel, and he's like, "Hey, I'm working for this Rumble thing. It's like a YouTube, but like there's no." I think it's just basically like anything goes, basically. And he's like, "You guys want to move your podcast from YouTube to Rumble?" And I was like, "No, because I don't even know what the fuck this is." So our podcast, because he was like, "You guys should bring it over here," and I'm like, "No." So that's what happened. Romanov changed teams, gained weight. Yeah, he looked bad. He just looked terrible. So the time is a little different now for me, I think, right? My time.
Yeah,
changed.
You guys had daylight savings. We didn't have.
So our time changed. So right now it's 6 p.m. my time, and it would be 5 p.m. right now, but we went an hour. Okay, let's end this podcast.
You rise an hour early, just like daylight savings time.
That's from the Bloodhound Gang. The Bad Touch.
Yeah,
I love that song. That's one of my. I love that fucking song. And that video is fucking amazing too, by the way.
Get your heads down my pants, and I bet you feel nuts. Yeah.
You tell the ladies myself. Did you watch the Oscars last night?
No, but I know the whale got
Canadian, he's American, but Canadian parents. Brendan Fraser won the Oscar. I haven't seen the Willie. I need to watch it. But Darren Arfonsky, the director, directed one of my favorite movies of all time, which is called Requiem for a Dream. One of my favorite movies of all time. I don't know if you've seen that movie. It is fucking amazing. That's a movie you need to watch. I'm sure people in the chat have seen that movie. One of the best movies of all time.
Who plays in it?
Guys are drug addicts. Requiem for a Dream. It's fucking amazing.
Who plays in it? Which
Jared Leto, Ellen Burstyn, Marlon Wayans, I want to say. I think it was and Jennifer Connelly.
Okay.
I think they show her naked in it, Marcel. So you might want to watch that. she's pretty hot. We got hype in here. What's going on? Okay, yeah, let's finish this podcast up. Went a little off track there, but that's okay. Marcel, you can follow him on Twitter and Instagram, Big Marcel 24. Me, Adam Martin. We're gonna start the next podcast in a minute, guys. We're gonna start the UFC 286 preview. Can't wait to talk about this card, Marcel. So let's just give me a second here, guys, while I get set up, and we'll talk to you guys in a second. This guy knocks. I mean, it's one of the best movies of all time. You got to see this movie, Marcel. It's fucking amazing. All right, we'll talk to you guys in a sec. Bye.